We've always heaped high praise on both the Skoda Kushaq and the Volkswagen Taigun. Great to look at, comfortable, good fun to drive, enough and more features, everything to keep us enthusiasts happy. And also, these are two of the safest cars to be made in India as verified by global NCAP. Full 5 stars in the crash test ratings. So how do these cars, made in India, engineered for India, meet global crash test norms as well as put a big smile on enthusiast faces and also meet the requirements of Indian customers? That's what we are here to find out as we go out for a drive with the MD and CEO of Skoda Auto Volkswagen India, Piyush Arora. So 26 years at Mercedes, and then you moved over to Skoda Auto Volkswagen. What made you make that decision?
I think the opportunity which this unique group offers and the challenge which this unique group offers in the country, that excited me actually. And I think I always believed that the skills which I have acquired and the knowledge which I have acquired in the automotive industry, I would be able to utilize that for further strengthening the growth opportunities of multi-brand group. Of course, Volkswagen, its reputation, its I think the strength of managing a multi-brand globally as well as in India. If you see, means the 5 very desirable brands which you have to manage through the group. I think it's a different, unique opportunity, I would say. Yeah. So I think that was the main excitement about taking up this opportunity. Yeah.
So obviously in the first couple of months, now it's not even been a year, it's what, 10 months since you joined in. In your initial months, you obviously would have been looking at the different brands, looking at the different areas of the manufacturing operation, the sales operations. What did you identify were the areas that needed your immediate attention?
I think when I joined, a lot of pieces were in motion. The company had already started launching the India 2.0 cars in a few months. Both the SUVs are already launched. The notchback was launched just when I was joining in, the first, the Slavia. Yeah. And I think it was a unique time to make sure that you are ensuring the enthusiasm which these products were generating in the market to continue that, while at the same time ramp up the production process. So I think on one side, the ramping up in the plant, and if you would recollect, those were the challenging times, or that still continues to be extremely challenging with respect to the supply situation. So maintaining that you are able to ramp up properly as well as meet customer requirements, because you have to change on day-to-day basis at that point in time your schedules because of chip supply situation, etc. But at the same time ensuring that you have the right product in the market, because you are just launching that product in the market. And that was, I think, one focus very clearly on the market launch, that we have a proper and, I would say, impactful market launch for these products, which they were anyway generating a lot of enthusiasm, but at the same time keeping the momentum going. And also maintaining that means our strategy has always been make in India for India as well as for exports. And at the same time, we were also looking at how do we ramp up the export markets. So I would say that a lot of things were happening, and yeah, in the last year, this has been the most exciting time to launch so many cars and make sure that they are well received in the market.
In terms of the manufacturing setup at Chakan, the plant which has been in operation for more than 10 years now, you have a world-class facility out there which has now been re-kitted out for the MQB A0ion platform. How much work and effort went into re-equipping the plant for these new cars?
I think most of the work was done definitely before my time, but if I have to reflect on that, the team did an excellent job in terms of utilizing most of the infrastructure which was in place and adapting it to the new MQB A0ion platform, moving from PQ, but at the same time also integrating multiple products on the same line. So I would say from that point of view, it was really well managed and very well done, because you have to start with extension of the body shop. At the same time, you are also extending the powertrain for the new TSI engines. So I think part of that went via the expansion route, and part of that went via, of course, the readaptation route. But from my point of view, coming from outside and looking at this, I think the team did an excellent job for that.
What impressed you the most about this whole process of moving from the PQ platform to the MQB platform?
No, I think that the time when I joined, for me, what was fascinating really was that the team maintained the timeline despite the pandemic, despite the challenges which they were facing due to the supply situation, and ramping products back to back at a very fast speed. Maintaining the quality, maintaining the ramp-up direction, and also getting a lot of work done themselves without too much support, because that time with the travel restrictions,
people couldn't come in.
Exactly. So the experts, whoever have been working on this project from Mlada Boleslav or from Wolfsburg, were not able to travel, and they were supporting it only via through digital medium. But the team took that initiative and really stepped up and did an excellent job. I think that was extremely impressive. Every 3 or 4 months launching a new product is by no means a small achievement, I think.
Do you identify yourself as a manufacturing guy? What do you identify yourself as? What are you most passionate about?
I think so. I'm passionate overall about what growth opportunities are present in India. I mean, I always believed our country has much higher potential than most of the European or American automobile manufacturers have been achieving. And I think I'm extremely passionate in terms of what we can do in India. And this opportunity, which very clearly has a focus on developing the product in India, developing the people in India. So it resonates very well with most of the Government of India initiative, whether you call it Make in India, Skill India. So I would say that developing people, developing the skill sets in the country, whether it is on the engineering side, whether it is on the shop floor side, or also on the network side. But finally, at the end of the day, to be able to say that we have developed this car in India, and we are not only selling very effectively in India, we are also exporting to many countries. I think all these parts, the complete value chain, is this thought process that this is an Indian developed car and being successfully sold in India and abroad is what excites me about this whole activity right now.
You said that you see that India has a lot of opportunity even compared to Europe, even compared to America. What needs to be done so that we can really tap into that opportunity? And I'm not talking about the entire overall picture, maybe from the government side, maybe from the industry side. What can unlock this potential that you're talking about?
I think if you see already that a lot of things rightly are happening. I think the pace in India has to follow its own path. It cannot be compared that in the past we have been comparing it to many other fast-growing nations, particularly China. But I think India has its own pace and its own way of doing things, and I don't think so that we need to dramatically change that. But one thing which I believe is, of course, in the market growth, for the consumer benefit, for the industry benefit, if we rationalize going forward some amount of taxation in terms of the cess which we have on automotive, is one area which definitely can support it. The second area which in my understanding can support the overall industry is the standardization and harmonization of all our regulatory requirements across a little more free movement of technologies across borders. Being a global company, of course, I will have a view, of course, on what we see as a global benefit for India as well as our own group. But at the same time, I think the automotive industry in India has grown leaps and bounds in the last, I would say, a decade or so.
And it keeps growing.
It substantially keeps growing, with the skill sets getting developed. Local manufacturers coming out of east, west, both the directions, I think have been extremely successful in the last few years, at least I would say.
You talked about taxes, you talked about rationalization of the duty structures and also the regulations. Infrastructure is also another area that needs focus?
Yeah, of course, but I think a lot of work in terms of road infrastructure, and I think our present dispensation has been highly focused on the infrastructure. India has definitely challenges with respect to logistics and supply chain when it comes to infrastructure. Also, the cost of logistics is something which can be in future, if improved further, can help our competitiveness. But I would say that while the infrastructure pace is increasing, but at the same time the requirement growth is much faster. I mean, so just to give you an example, you started by asking me that how many years you have been following this route. I can tell you I have been following this route for 2 or 3 decades. The time to travel has remained the same. The reason being, when we started, the traffic was not so much, but the infrastructure was not up to the mark. But the infrastructure has grown, but the traffic has grown at the same speed. So the travel time remains the same. But I would say that infrastructure definitely plays a great role, and for us, all the Golden Quadrilateral, Bharatmala project, all these, I think, are creating opportunities for people to experience the thrill of the cars, to have better road infrastructure. They are able to drive. I'm sure that a lot of customers and a lot of enthusiasts like you, they really love to drive on the good roads which have been built over the last so many years.
So you're talking about the thrill of driving, and that's the one thing that really draws us to these cars. We are driving the Skoda now, the Kushaq. Before we talk about the fun to drive aspect, this road that you take every single day has probably got 525 speed breakers. And the way the car goes over these bad roads, these broken sections, that's really impressive. Was that done on purpose, or was that just the DNA that continues?
No, I'm sure that first thing is, of course, the Volkswagen brands, group brands DNA in terms of driving dynamics, in terms of solid build quality. I think the acceleration, the handling of the car, all these add up to definitely. And these cars, while they have been adapted, of course, with higher ground clearance, or if you see for the customer comfort, the flattening of the transmission tunnel, etc. But at the same time, the DNA of the product itself is driven to cater to these kind of requirements. They handle it much better than I would say most of the competitive cars. These cars definitely are adapted and designed also adapted for the Indian roads. But you have international products in our group product portfolio. They drive the same.
Exactly.
So from that point of view, if you drive any other brand car as well, which is not exclusively adapted for the Indian requirement, also goes through the same kind of feel when you drive the car on the roads.
And not watering it down for India, not watering down the core aspects of this car. That must have been a key focus area while Indianizing the platform?
No, I think so. You cannot. If you are Indianizing a car in India for the Volkswagen group, you cannot lose the Volkswagen DNA. The car initially itself means you have to be frugal, cost conscious, but that has to come through manufacturing processes, that has to come through design for manufacturing processes, that has to come from localization, and all that has been done to achieve that. But you cannot not have in the design element the DNA of a Volkswagen brand car. And that has been the thought process developing this product, and would remain the thought process going forward as well for any other product which we bring into the country.
So before we experienced the Kushaq and the Taigun, all the cars that were adapted for India, that were heavily localized, they all felt kind of cheapened for India. It didn't have the same solidity, the same rigidity, the same fun to drive character that we probably experienced abroad with the same car. And then when we drove the Kushaq the very first time, it was like, this feels like any other Skoda. So not watering it down while also meeting the cost targets, was that a big, how do I say, difficulty?
I think this was also before my time, but I can definitely reflect on that. From the very word go, I think it was very clearly defined that we will develop the car in India for India and for the global markets. Today we are selling more than 40 different countries these products. It's testimony to the fact that this is a Skoda and a Volkswagen car. And from that point of view, even for the Indian market, it was extremely important for us to maintain that the customer is well read, well traveled, well experienced, so they know what a Volkswagen. They buy a car from our brand, they know what they are expecting, and you really cannot dilute that. Finally, at the end of the day, you cannot take away the experience what they are looking for when you are buying that. So while designing the car, these aspects were of course considered, and including the paramount thing about the safety. And you see the results finally at the end of the day with the GNCAP. These are the two cars which have full 5-star rating both for child occupancy and adult occupancy. No other car has.
Yeah, it is the safest cars made in India.
Absolutely, and this is the hard work of our engineers who have put in to make sure that the DNA of Volkswagen brand and the Skoda brand is just not lost just because you are adapting a car to the Indian market. And I think I can compliment our engineering team, both here and globally, who have really worked hard to maintain that, and we are very happy to have this kind of product in the market. Coming to cost competitiveness, I only can say that you have to achieve this cost competitiveness first, of course, because of this global platform which you have. You have to utilize that. The synergies of the group you have to utilize. You have to have smart and frugal manufacturing way to achieve that. And the biggest factor is localization finally at the end of the day. And 95% localization is definitely something which I would say has helped us to achieve these cost ambitious goals as well.
So localization, now getting to that 95% localization, how difficult was that?
Challenging, I would say. But at the same time, I think the Indian automotive component industry has also grown over the last, I would say, 2 decades maybe, gradually, into a very potent industry finally. And it's very heartening to see that the suppliers which we developed, which we are using for the domestic production, at least 25% of them are our export partners today in terms of components. They are able to supply components globally. So they are equally competitive. Of course, finally, at the end of the day, the cost competitiveness and some amount of logistical cost disadvantage to send the parts, and they are able to overcome that as well. And from that point of view, I think initially to support them with our engineering center, with our quality organization, is something which we focused on and did it extremely, I would say, effectively, because without an engineering center, it's very difficult. You are not able to support then remotely the suppliers to meet the expectation and the global standards of our group.
So your engineering center that you talked about, how big is that, and what do you do in India?
I think it started, of course, in a step-by-step approach, and it's growing in the last years. What we do definitely in our engineering center is adapting all the local requirements for both the brands. We have scaled it up to an extent that we are now started taking more and more responsibility in terms of validating the products, validating the components, being able to do the adaptation for the complete Indian requirements, homologations. So I think from that point of view, we have come a long way, and it's not that everything is done in-house. Our engineers are also utilizing the engineering skill sets of the industry, and they are getting the work done with some of the engineering service providers. So from that point of view, I think some of the areas like the connectivity solutions for India, we have locally done with our engineering partners here. So going forward, the aim is definitely to do more and more and take it even more activity here. But finally, at the end of the day, if we are going to utilize the synergies of the platform of the brand, this platform are developed and means for the global markets, they will continue to be developed by the either Wolfsburg or in Voleslav finally. Yeah.
And India is now like a major center for this platform, especially because India is still focusing on ICE and we've not transitioned completely to EVs.
I think the ICE platform will continue, and I think we will continue to develop the ICE platforms for the rest of the market, because if you see the expectations till at least 2030s is that we will still have 30-40% globally the market share, because we are looking at around depending on the brand, of course, we are looking at around 70% market share, getting close to the ICE vehicles, with the different markets having different penetration. But finally, at the end of the day, you will need the ICE vehicles in many of the markets. So some of the products like the MQB will have more, India will have more role to play in that, because India would be definitely one of the leading markets for this platform. And we definitely are looking at opportunities going forward. How much work more can we do in India and not have dependence on the European development centers for that.
So what more can you do with this platform?
I think it's a highly flexible platform, and I think going forward you definitely can look at possibilities of having different cars, but present understanding for me is definitely that we have a good set of products on this platform available, but we'll continue to evaluate the opportunities, whether below the segment where we are present or above the segment where we are present, whether we can utilize this platform. And going forward, the same strategy would remain for this platform in the long run. How many more products can you really bring in? We have looked at other markets as well. Means, as I said, 40 of these markets where we are 40 plus markets where we are exporting. Apart from that, we have started looking at markets where FBU exports is not a viable option. You can start exporting them. The components start building those platform cars there, and Vietnam is that very, I would say, first example which we are going to start in 2024. And I would say if that model is successful, there might be more opportunities to do that going forward in other markets also.
So this is interesting, because earlier India used to import kits, assemble cars here, and now this will be the first instance of India exporting kits, and kits manufactured here in India will then get assembled in countries around the world.
Absolutely. I think it's a very interesting business model. To be very honest, I think this business model for making this car successful and reach out to the other markets is going to be extremely successful. We have to also look, in India is also very aggressively looking at the possibilities of bilateral trade agreements. So wherever we have opportunities with this new approach, and new opportunities get opened up, and wherever this product is in demand or it can fit into very easily, we will look at those opportunities. So we are looking very clearly to twofold opportunity, where we can directly export the India built up cars, or we can look at these opportunities once we have established the Vietnamese model successfully by sending parts from here and assembling the cars with a local partner or ourselves, depending on the business model, and then how successfully we can take it to the other locations. So it has definitely twofold opportunities which will come in the next years.
In your opinion, what is uniquely Indian about this car that was uniquely done here?
I think a few topics, if you see, means some I already referred to, that rear passenger comfort is something which was very highly focused, including the flattening of the transmission tunnel, but also for this class of cars having ventilated seats for the Indian hot conditions or customer preferences is something also which has been very clearly done for this car. But apart from that, ground clearance, we spoke about the speed breakers is also something without losing out on the vehicle dynamics. So I think these are some of the aspects, and as I said, that the safety was a prime driver for this car as well, like any other group brand cars.
So when we drove these cars, we said that in terms of ride and handling, the balance, this actually hits the sweet spot. There is no other midsize SUV that rides as well as handles as well as either the Skoda Kushaq or the Volkswagen Taigun. And we always said that it feels safe. Now, we didn't have any data to back up our claims, but we said that it feels safe. And now, with the crash test results out, those results back up those claims. So a car that feels safe is invariably safe.
No, means, but yeah, you are absolutely right. A car cannot be safe if it doesn't feel safe. So that's and at the same time comfortable. So you drive this car, you are extremely comfortable. Even the rear passenger comfort, I would say, is very, very means. People like to sit in the car finally at the end of the day, and they really love to drive. People who are driving Skoda Kushaq or Volkswagen Taigun, they really want to go for long rides.
What would you have done differently?
In terms of, I would say, global situation, if you were to do something differently, I think we should have been able to initially, despite the challenges which we face through the chip shortages, if we were to not have that, we could have initially put more cars into the market, but we were a little bit restricted. But I'm sure that slowly and steadily we will do that going forward.
And in terms of the car itself?
I think a change in the product is a normal, gradual process, and I think the model year changes and all the upgrades which you do going forward, I think we will bring in those changes. But to begin with, I would say that it was a good mix and good product to start with, and as the customer demands and expectation to refresh the product, also to look at the product in a way that you are able to always see something new. So those steps, like you see in Monte Carlo, the one we are driving right now, or you see the anniversary edition for both Skoda and Volkswagen, so, and something similar, whether it is a small thing here or small thing there, I think these kind of upgrades we'll have to continuously do to keep the product fresh.
Do you miss a diesel engine in this?
I would say that our strategy for the powertrain is very clear now, in the direction of petrol and move into the direction of ICE. So that's been the group strategy, that the strategy which we want to follow even in India. And from that point of view, while I do understand that Indian market in SUV segments, there is still a preference for the diesel, but looking at the long-term perspective, and it is changing, means the percentage of diesel vehicles in India is also changing at the same time. So I do believe that going forward, we will have a strong product portfolio with petrol as well as electric vehicles.
So since you brought up the topic of electric vehicles, I have to ask you about EVs. Where are your EVs?
Oh, you see them. We have followed a very clear approach at this point in time, the top-down approach. You see some of the very successful global products being driven and very well appreciated within the brand, whether it is Taycan, whether it is Audi e-tron, and I'm sure that you know it, that we are looking at both Skoda and Volkswagen brands as well. In terms of we are having customer, or not customer, consumer driven drives, I would say, with both ID4 and Enyaq right now. And at the right time you will hear that we definitely want to get into electric vehicle space.
How difficult is it to pull out the ICE engine from the Kushaq and put in an e-motor?
You're saying how technically difficult it is? Might not be very technically difficult, but we want to follow a different strategy. We want to have electric only vehicle from that point of view. You are referring to a multi-traction car.
Yes.
So from that point of view, I think having evaluated all possibilities, we do believe that the best opportunity for us is to have an electric platform, and we have great platforms within the group.
Of course.
And we will have to at the right time utilize the strengths of our group and introduce a product in the country.
India's electrification journey,
Yeah.
where do you see us progressing in the EVs? Now the government is making a lot of noise about moving towards electrics. Are we there yet?
I would say yes, because the thing is that the transformation into electric vehicle space, I think many people, including global automotive players, underestimated the way the transformation will take place, and the expectation or the acceptance by the Indian customers of electrification is really, I would say, much better than many other markets also. So from that point of view, I would say that India has taken the right steps in electrification, and there are manufacturers, local manufacturers, and now even global manufacturers who are stepping up electrification. But at the same time, all various studies which we do or the marketing company does, we are talking about a penetration of anything between 15 to 25%. India is a huge automotive market. We are talking about 4 million cars. I'm sure that by 2030 we are talking about 5 million and plus cars. From that point of view, if you see with 15, 20 to 25% electrification, we are still talking about a million, a little more than a million cars. But we are talking about 4 million ICE vehicles. So the growth is happening in both the segments, and we do definitely want to participate in both these segments. So infrastructure might, charging infrastructure might still develop in the next years, I would say. But today's customer mostly is dependent on home charging.
Yes.
Or maybe office charging and things like that. They're not dependent on highway charging or things like that. I think that will happen, but it's heartening to see the way customer acceptance has come for these vehicles, which was, of course, a paradigm shift for people to start thinking about moving out of diesel or petrol into electric vehicles.
So you are a little late to the party, but it's better late than never.
You can say that, but I don't agree that we are late to the party. As I said, that if you see our group globally is extremely successful in electrification. We are the largest electric vehicle seller in our home market in Europe. We have started producing the ID4 in the North American market and penetrating that market at third or fourth number. I wouldn't know exactly what. China, we have grown almost 60% plus last year. And we are getting into India. But for India, we have decided to follow a particular path, and we are pursuing that path, that we go top-down approach. At the right time, we bring in other products into the market. The thing is that finally for me, bringing the car into the market has three ways of doing it for our group. You can bring them as FBUs, you can bring them as parts and components, do the assembly, and you can also start manufacturing it locally. And we are looking at all three, but you need the right products for all three ways of bringing them into the country. And this will happen, and I'm very confident that we will have good growth for our BEV products as well as ICE products in the coming times.
Piyush, now this is the India 2.0 car. We've been hearing about India 2.5. Are those rumors? Where are we at?
No, I wouldn't say rumors. Means these are natural progressions which any company does. Finally, at the end of the day, whether you call it 2.5, 3.0 or whatever we want to give it a name, but finally at the end of the day, we are always evaluating our product expansion strategy. And product expansion strategy, as I said earlier, for us, for me, it is very clear that we have to look the segments below where we are right now and above where we are right now. And we are evaluating both opportunities. And I would definitely say that we are working on different options at different stages, but at the same time, we have to come to the market introduction or announcements or confirmations or what products we are doing closer to the place and closer to the market launches and things like that. And this is what we will do finally at the end of the day. So working on the different opportunities is continuing, and I'm sure that we will look at more products coming into the country, and you will hear them at the right time.
So not to put words in your mouth, but to me that sounds like the Polo might be resurrected sometime in the future. We might have a Fabia in the future.
Straight answer to this, Shirish, the thing is today, the world is moving in terms of body styling more SUV-ish. Hatchback has taken a little bit of a backseat.
Yes.
While I cannot deny that there are customers who still like hatchbacks, but I think our immediate focus in terms of body styling is more in the direction of SUV. And from that point of view, I can of course look at the opportunity of Polo, but as I said, there are various ways of doing that. Whether you bring them for the niche market, limited demand as FBU, parts and components, or if the demand is more, then why not? The platform is flexible enough. So from that point of view, I think the opportunities are all there. But at the same time, if you see today's customer preference, not only in India, globally as well, is moving more SUV-ish. So let's see.
So let's see. Now, since we're talking about the Polo, I think it's time we swap and jump into the Volkswagen.
Okay.
So Piyush, now we are in the Volkswagen.
Yeah.
What do you identify as the core value of Volkswagen?
I think for Volkswagen, means it's a German engineered car. This is what the strength of this product is, but the safe and driving dynamics, I think these are the things which excite you about driving a Volkswagen, and extremely comfortable, as I said with the other car as well. But Taigun for me is an extremely comfortable vehicle, and you really like to equally have fun driving this car.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. We keep getting questions, Skoda Kushaq or Volkswagen Taigun, and I always reply that whatever styling you prefer or whichever showroom is near you, go and buy that car. If somebody would ask you between the Kushaq and the Taigun, where would you steer them to?
I'll say buy both. No, extremely difficult choice, and you have rightly said that. It depends on which styling do you prefer finally at the end of the day, because both the cars offer equally good safety. They are at par in terms of safety, of course, and the driving dynamics is also equally comfortable. So I think it's just a matter of personal choice. Finally, at the end of the day, what you want to like to buy, but I would encourage customers to buy both, have one of each.
And now you also have the sedans. You have the Slavia, you have the Virtus.
Right.
Sedans is a segment that in India has been on the decline.
Right.
And a lot of it is probably due to the fact that there aren't any new entrants there. So there's not much action, and that's why that segment is going down. Why the sedan and why not something else?
From our point of view, I think the driving dynamics of a sedan offers definitely a different feel altogether. And you are right that the market was declining, predominantly I would say driven by scarcity of products in the Indian market, and everybody was moving in the direction of SUVs. So I think we see the opportunity to say that there is a potential for this car, and we are seeing that right now. The notchback market or the sedan market has been growing, and we do believe that our products are very, very well liked in that segment. And the comfort or the fun of driving a sedan is different from an SUV. So you have to have offering to the customer, where the customer has a choice finally at the end of the day. And I think these are some of the thought processes which drove that decision, and finally at the end of the day we are happy about that decision.
So the Taigun and the Kushaq both have got 5 stars in the crash test rating. The Slavia and the Virtus will also be sent in for crash testing, or have they already been sent?
Yeah, but you will hear it at the right time. So
okay.
you will know it at the right time. And I think at the right opportunity we will look at what possibilities are there. But at the same time, if you see, India is also moving towards Bharat NCAP, and you will have to also look at what opportunities that provide you finally at the end of the day.
Is safety a big talking point or a big selling point for cars.
Yeah.
In the past, we always felt that, okay, Volkswagen always had safe cars, but there were other brands that were selling despite not having safe cars. And everybody said that safety is not really a priority for Indian customers. Has that changed?
It is changing. Means if you will say that it has changed to our liking, maybe still a way to go. But finally, at the end of the day, if you hear so much about safety right now in India being one of the countries where the unfortunate road accident deaths are the highest. From that point of view, I think people are becoming more and more conscious about that. And I think people do believe that, and they are asking about safety features in the car. But we saw this also with our GNCAP announcement. There was traction which was generated, of course, through support of the media as well, as well as the customer sensitivity is increasing. And I would say that going forward, it will be in the shopping list of customers. How safe is this car finally at the end of the day? It's changing. I think the customer preferences are also moving in that direction. But whether we are there where we should be, I would say might take some time more.
So it's established that your cars are safe, but do you feel that the industry needs to do more on the other factors that lead to this shocking road accident record that we have in India? For instance, the ridiculous lack of traffic discipline, or poorly maintained or even engineered roads. Do you think the industry needs to now take a stand over there as well?
No, I think we have been discussing this in various different automotive forums as well, and one of the outcomes what I just referred to you as a campaign which we have started in each of our print media advertisements for all the brands. We have showed that wear your seat belt campaign, and I think we from our side as an industry have to play that role, whether through our CSR initiatives in terms of educating people or through our campaigns, and which we will do, and we have started doing it. But at the same time, the thought process in the customers about safety also has to start coming, and this has to be done not only by the automobile manufacturers but the society in general. I'm sure you have, and many other people, our customers sometimes can also be very, very irrational when you see sunroof being misused, seat belts not being worn unless and until prompted. I think there are so many things which over a period of time have to be worked upon. Industry is going to definitely play its role through CSR initiatives, through campaigns, through training programs, and I think that's the role we have to play. But at the same time, we have to also provide features in the car or safety features in the car so that customer finally appreciates that.
Safety also makes the cars a little heavier, which then directly affects the fuel economy.
Yeah, I think new generation metals which are coming, which are much more safer, and also new alloys which are coming. Yeah, there is a point in what you are saying, but that's for us as automobile manufacturers to engineer so that we don't compromise on the emission and provide the safe car. And I think the structural strength of the metal which is being used today in the car gives a good balance of both.
The CAFE norms are getting even more stringent. A lot of manufacturers are struggling to meet that. There are fines being handed out to the government. How is the group addressing that?
Of course, we have to meet the CAFE norms requirement. We have been meeting the CAFE norms requirement, and this year, once again, that means the values have been reduced. From that point of view, I think with the right mix of product portfolio, as it is, CAFE, the corporate average which you have to maintain. So we'll have to have the right balance of our cars which are less CO2 consuming, and also at the same time making the cars which our customer enthusiasts still demand, and they want to drive that, and we will continue to pursue that. But I think we should be in a position to manage both, and this has been our strategy globally, and we will follow that same strategy here as well.
So in terms of the engines, you have an engine line here at the Chakan plant. You recently rolled out the 1 lakh 100,000 TSI engine from that plant. Setting up that engine line, that was crucial in meeting the 95% localization of all the cars, all the 4 cars. Right. Now going forward, will you also extensively localize the 1.5 engine, because the major localization is for the 1 liter, right?
Yeah, the major localization is 1 liter, 1.5 liters. The degree of localization is not that high. But of course, as I said, that everything is finally feasibility and volume driven. So as the penetration of 1.5 will increase, we will look at that opportunity as well. But today, I think the volumes of 1.5 demanded in the market and which are required, I think we will have to stay with the present knockdown degree.
Okay, the present rate. Are you also evaluating CNG?
I think nothing is off the table, but if you say that whether we are actively doing it and we are likely to come in a short, the answer is no. The thing is that we, as I said, that we are pursuing our strategy of the 1.5 and 1 liter TSI. Our engines are extremely efficient as well as extremely powerful, responsive, and at the same time you have to also look at how do we bring in the electric vehicles. So I think these are our focus area for the propelling the car at this point in time.
How was 2022 for the group?
Oh, 2022 was extremely positive, if I may say. You have seen the numbers. We had almost 80+%, 86% growth in our group numbers. We sold more than 100,000 cars in the domestic market, exported more than 33,000 cars across the brand, driven of course by the India 2.0 products, but at the same time all our luxury brands are clocking high growth rates. So from that point of view, I'm extremely happy with the way the 22 has panned out. For me, 22 was also important to work on the strategic direction, furthering the strategic direction in the path in which we are going, to align and to come up with the thought process of how we see ourselves in the next decade or till the end of this decade. And I think these have been the focus area and very satisfying in the marketplace in terms of what numbers we are able to achieve right now.
And what's your forecast for 2023? Are you going to grow at the same rate as you did in the past 2 years?
The thing is that it depends also on the base, and also it will depend on the market growth. The market has grown 23-24% this year. And all expectations are definitely not showing very clearly that you might not able to achieve that kind of growth rate. If you hit a double-digit growth rate, would be good, but maybe on the single-digit higher side. But we are definitely looking at a double-digit growth for our group, and we will strive for that. And I'm confident that with the product availability for the complete calendar year, because last year we were still launching the products like notchback. Did not see the full year last year. Will definitely give us an opportunity to grow double digits.
Since we're in a Volkswagen, I have to talk to you about motorsport. A lot of our attraction to the brand also has been the motorsport activities. Now Volkswagen is not going to be there in Indian motorsport. Any rationale for that?
I think we have run this motorsport for 12 years extremely successfully. It was very much associated with our Polo brand. Also, I think motorsport brings in to an organization like any other sport. Today in the leadership, there are a lot of elements out of sports which you imbibe in your leadership. So it helps in doing that, but at the same time, it is also kind of a laboratory for automotive companies to work on their safety, efficiency, dynamics of the driving dynamics of the car, etc. But at the same time, in India, as we were discussing earlier, what are the kind of development work we are doing? While we are doing a lot of hard development, while we are doing a lot of adaptation, we are still not developing the complete platform. And this laboratory finally helps me in helping to develop the platform. So I see from that point of view, limited opportunity for us to technically use that information, but at the same time, also since it was associated lots with Polo and with the PQ cars and the Polo facing or going through their life cycle change now in India, we thought that we have to really review, and finally, given resources, you have to utilize where you can utilize them best from that point of view. So that's the reason to handing over our motorsport business to Rayog. I think they will do justice, and our enthusiasts will still be able to get the benefit out of that.
As an enthusiast, I can only say that I hope this is temporary and it will come back, and because what Volkswagen did for motorsport in India, no other manufacturer has done, no other brand has done, and raising it from the level that it used to be to the level that it is at, lot of it has been...
I'm sure it is coming from your heart. This I can fully understand. But yeah, let's see. Means you have to take pragmatic decisions at the right time, at what phase of business development you are, and where you can push what kind of activity. And I thought and we thought that this is the right time. At this point in time, this is the right decision. But yes, no doors are closed.
Okay, great. No doors are closed. We've been talking about Skoda and Volkswagen, but the power of the group are the 5 brands. You also have Audi, you have Lamborghini, you have Porsche.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the 3 premium brands that you have. Not that Skoda and Volkswagen are not premium; they are mass premium.
For us, these are luxury brands in the Indian context.
Okay, so your luxury brands.
Right.
All 3 brands have been growing. Yeah. Audi is back to getting a significant growth rate going. Audi has the electric cars also. Porsche also has electric cars. Lamborghini, in that segment that it operates, is doing extremely well for itself. A run rate of 1 Urus every week being sold, which is phenomenal considering what the price of the car is and what our market is also like. What has been your reading of these 3 luxury brands?
I'm extremely happy about the growth rate which these cars and all these brands, all 3 of them have picked up the momentum in the last I think year or so. But at the same time, I think there is always going to be, because you see the luxury market in India. I have worked in the luxury car market for a long time. This 40-50,000 numbers.
The overall volume.
Right, overall volume doesn't move up much finally at the end of the day. But I think that the time has come, the penetration will start increasing with the product offerings which all the manufacturers are providing, which we are providing, which we are going to bring. And I'm sure that we will see higher side double-digit growth in this segment as well. And this is what we are hoping for as well. And we want to get more market share in this space. Yeah.
Why do you think that this market hasn't been growing? It's been stagnant in that volume. It's just everybody's taking share out of each other. It's not growing at the pace that everybody wants it to go. 10 years ago, we were talking about being the next China.
Yeah, but I would come to, once again, I think some amount of challenge comes because of the taxation. Some amount of challenge also comes because the product offering in these segments are a very high combination of fully built up cars and the locally assembled cars. And from that point of view, some amount of technical development synchronization, which limits some of the offerings. So from overall, but these are reasons from the supply side. But I would say on the demand side as well, because when the growth momentum was picking up, then we were hit by the pandemic. It has started once again picking up, and I hope that it definitely does. And this segment, from my point of view, is highly product offering driven. So every manufacturer needs multiple product offering in this segment to be able to. There is not a single product which sells a very high number. And from that point of view, I think once you cross that threshold, single product, then you will see also opportunities for this to grow substantially. But I'm very hopeful that it will grow in the next 4 to 5 years.
Do you think brands like, say, Porsche need to start assembling in India to be more cost competitive?
I don't think so. The Porsche sells or not sell because of pricing or cost.
Okay.
Because of the Porsche enthusiast is very, very clearly looking for a Porsche. But as I said, that bringing a car to the customer, for customer it doesn't matter finally how do I get this car, as long as he or she gets that car. And as I was referring to, we have 3 ways of getting it: FBU, parts and components, localization. And from that point of view, we will evaluate at the right time whether the volume justifies for us to start locally assembling it.
Do you think with Audi you have enough local assembly and enough mass luxury cars or models?
In terms of product variety,
yes,
we are today assembling four cars right now, and I think we will always look at opportunities of expanding that portfolio. So Piyush, we got your 3 luxury brands out here, represented by the Huracan Evo, the convertible. We actually drove that car recently. Okay.
It's quite mental.
Okay.
Especially with the top down, that V10 sound.
Where did you drive that?
We drove it at Ambi Valley, going up to Ambi Valley. So our anniversary issue, the cover was all the 3 Lamborghinis.
Superb.
So this was one of those cover stars. This now will go into hybridization in the next iteration. This is the last of the V10s.
Right.
As an engineer yourself, do you feel that pangs of, I wouldn't say regret, but that pain of losing the ICE that we all grew up with, and then the future, which is obviously EV?
Yeah, the thing is, the change is inevitable finally at the end of the day, and I think it's happening for the right reasons. So someone mentioned in the last days that the physics was driving the car, now chemistry is driving the car, and it's going to be like that finally at the end of the day. But I think all the efforts the brands are going to make for sure that the thrill of driving is not lost. Whether you want to create the sound, that also can be done finally at the end of the day. But it's a different technology and it's a different transformation. So I think we have to embrace that.
Have you been amazed by Lamborghini's growth in India and the popularity in India?
It's heartening. Means I will not say I'm surprised. India has the capability finally at the end of the day. And from that point of view, India has the potential to become one of the major markets for the luxury cars. And I hope that going forward it is going to happen. And it's heartening to see, but for me not surprising to see.
Okay, this is the future, electrics. This is the e-tron. In fact, we've been using e-trons in the Evo fleet also for quite some time. We drove the Q8 e-tron that's coming in June of this year, and a nice improvement over the current e-tron. Audi was going to be one of the first with luxury electric vehicles. Then the pandemic obviously slowed things down. But the response to Audi's electrics has been strong, and that has also helped cast that halo over the brand, the Washsprung Durch technique, that engineering-led brand that is coming back into the fore. What are the plans for Audi now going forward?
Yeah, I think so. We are looking at globally. If you see, that Audi has a very clear intention of moving the complete portfolio into the electric vehicle direction. Of course, we will move in a similar direction, but at a different pace for altogether. And I think I still do see that we have a place for both ICE and electric vehicle. It's really extremely heartening to see that electric e-trons have been very well accepted in the market. I myself drive sometimes this car, and it's really fun to drive, car and be seen in this car, because when you are driving this car on the streets, I'm sure that people are looking and turning and looking at this car. So I think what we are looking at is growing the portfolio both in the electric vehicle space as well as ICE space in the Indian market. And you will see more and more electric vehicles from Audi in the future.
So with Audi, do you have still market share targets? Do you have that target to go back to #1 that Audi once was in the luxury car space in India?
I think as our stated position is, we are not in the number rat race. We want to grow and sustainably and profitably, and that would remain our way to grow forward. And I do definitely see that we have a scope for increasing market share.
Yeah. And finally, with Porsche, the Taycan, again a beautiful electric car, and something that actually changed the perception about what electric cars could do. Earlier we thought all electric cars would drive the same. Then we drove the Taycan and said, oh, this drives like a Porsche. And especially with the rear wheel drive, you can have fun with it.
Right. I think this you'll have to maintain to retain the brand values finally at the end of the day. Even if the propulsion will move from ICE to electric vehicle, I don't think so. We are looking at changing our brand perception or the driving perception, and the Porsche will always remain a Porsche. So you cannot compare it with any other car finally at the end of the day.
And sports cars is at the core of Porsche, and what we've seen over the past 2 years, ever since the new head of the brand took over, there's been an added focus on the sports cars, not so much on the practicality aspects of it, though all Porsches are still very practical, but on that emotional aspects, and that's what makes people want to buy a Porsche.
Yeah, but absolutely. I think it's an emotional product. It's a super luxury or luxury product, sports luxury brand, and within the group also, it's very clearly defined as an independent sports luxury brand, and it has to remain in that identity. And these products generate emotions finally at the end of the day amongst the customers to buy. And as I was referring to, for a Porsche customer, Porsche is the product finally at the end of the day. And we want more people and more customers like that.
So finally, thoughts on the entire group, 2023 and the future. What's the direction?
I referred to that already, that we have laid down a strategic path for our group for the next, till the end of the decade. And I think all the brands have their respective ambitions to grow in the marketplace very independently in terms of what their aspirations are in the market. And I can definitely see that we have a clear vision to gain market share, gain more market share with all the brands put together in the Indian market. We want each product in their segments to be the market leader, and let's see how it goes.
Thank you, Piyush.
Thank you
for your time. Thank you for the drive up here to Chakan, and wish you all the best.
My pleasure. Great.
Thank you.
It was good fun.
Thank you.